Hello, back again on the Top Recap channel. This time I will tell a movies entitled 10 by 10. Let's get straight into the storyline. Kathy Newland goes about her routine as usual. She works at the flower shop, has breakfast at the restaurant across the street, and then goes to yoga class.
Breaths, nice and deep.
All the while, a strange man named Robert Lewis follows her. While Kathy is practicing yoga, Lewis waits outside. He checks her car and then takes out a gun, a plastic bag, a zipper tie, and a newspaper from the truck. After throwing those things in the front seat of the car, he keeps waiting.
Let's open out into Warrior 2.
He receives a call from the maid, Arundel, confirming that everything is going smoothly for tonight. After yoga class, Kathy chats with another woman in the dressing room. Clearly, she disagrees when the woman implies that she wants to cheat on her husband. Then she goes to the parking lot, ready to go home. But as soon as she gets in the car, Lewis pounces on her. He covers her head with a plastic bag, throws her to the floor, and tries to suffocate her. Kathy manages to push him away and get the bag off. She yells for help, but the only person nearby is wearing headphones and doesn't hear her. This gives Lewis another chance to grab her. He tells her that if she makes a sound again, he will kill her. Then he covers her mouth with tape and ties her wrists and ankles with a zipper tie. Kathy is left on the floor while Lewis returns to his car. He waits for the car next to Kathy's to leave, then takes over the parking spot. There, he picks up Kathy, locks her in the trunk, and then drives away. On the way to his house, a police car stops next to him at a traffic way, but he remains calm and manages to avoid arousing suspicion. A few minutes later, when he gets home, the garage door gets stuck halfway, so he has to lift it up himself and prop it open with a broom. Lewis takes time to turn the car around and back it into the garage so the trunk goes in first. He lifts Kathy out of the trunk and drags her through the house, leaving a trail of blood from her bleeding foot on the floor. Kathy is taken to a 10 by 10 cellar space, where Lewis locks the door and hides it behind a false wall and a table with a vase on it. As Kathy struggles to break free, Lewis puts some food in the oven and then goes to his car to pack his things into a bag. Then, he visits Kathy. He tells her that the walls are soundproof, so shouting won't help. He then tells her that he will remove the tape so she can tell him her name. After Kathy nods in understanding, Lewis removes the tape, but she just starts screaming again. So he leaves her and goes to his office. He checks his computer, confirming that everything in the basement has been recorded, then mutes the sound. He starts cleaning the blood on the floor. Kathy manages to stand up and starts banging on the door with her whole body, but it's no use, nor is kicking the panels. So, she decides to try something else. When she notices that the room has a vent, she gets as close as possible and tries to yell for help. But the house is in a remote area, so no one can hear her. While listening to an old news recording, Lewis loads his gun and goes to see Kathy again. The recording mentions that the case is being retried as evidence of 3 deaths emerges. She begs him not to touch her and offers him her savings, $50,000.
That's a lot of money for someone in your line of business.
Lewis points out that it's a lot of money for someone in her line of work, but he doesn't want her money. He wants her to tell him her name. She replies, Kathy Newland, which disappoints him and sends him back to the kitchen. Lewis rummages through Kathy's bag, but doesn't find anything useful, so he goes back to watching the news report. This time, the reporter says the evidence is insufficient to prove unnatural death, so the case is closed again, and the family plans to contest the decision. When Lewis goes back to cook, Kathy tries her best to contort her body and manages to get her bound hands in front of her. When Lewis goes to invite Kathy for lunch, she is waiting for him behind the door, ready to attack him. She punches him to the floor and kicks him as she leaves the room. Once outside, she grabs a vase from the table and smashes it over his head. Kathy drags herself to Lewis's office, trying to call the police with the landline. But Lewis appears and fires his gun. As he approaches, she picks up a paperweight from the table and hits him with it, knocking him unconscious. Seconds later, she goes to the kitchen and finds her cell phone hidden in her pants, but there's no signal. So she finds a knife in a drawer, cuts the bandages off her ankles, and tries to leave the house. Unfortunately, all the doors are locked. When Lewis wakes up, Kathy asks how he knew about her job.
You said that's a lot for your line of work. How do you know what I do?
But his only response is to sit at the table and invite her to have lunch with him. He asks her name again as he eats.
Like your name, for a start.
She answers, Kathy Newland. Lewis reminds her that he has a gun, and guns beat knives.
Who the fuck are you?
So Kathy agrees to sit at the table, but doesn't touch the food. He points out that if he wanted her dead, he could have killed her long ago. He asks her name again. Kathy gives him the same answer, which angers him. He throws the plate at her face. As Lewis walks toward her with the gun, they both leave the table. Kathy knocks the gun out of his hand and tries to punch him. Lewis responds by pushing her onto the kitchen counter. Kathy bites him, forcing him off her. Then she chokes him with the wrist ties still around her neck. However, merely knocking him unconscious isn't enough. When she tries to escape, he punches her and takes her back to the basement. When he returns to the kitchen, his maid, Alondra, is there. She is there because he never told her whether he needs her today. Lewis tells her he doesn't need her and tries to let her go. But Alondra insists on cleaning up the broken dishes and tending to his wound. Desperate, Lewis tells her that he's just having one of those days and tries again to get her to leave. Alondra hesitates, but agrees, promising to return the next day with her daughter, who is currently spending the night. Lewis cleans up the aftermath, puts the flowers in a new vase, and washes the bloody knife. Then he checks on Kathy, applying butterfly bandages to her wounds. Afterward, he takes a bath, tending to his own injuries, then finishes his lunch in front of the TV, watching more old news recordings about Charleston 3, the case of 3 patients at Charleston Angel Hospital dying under mysterious circumstances. Meanwhile, Kathy retrieves her cell phone from a hidden spot in her pants, but there's still no signal. When she finds one of the tiles is cracked, she keeps it. She starts working on getting the pieces off the floor. Lewis comes to visit Kathy again, bringing a chair this time. He begins asking her questions about her personal life, her name, birthday, hometown, number of siblings, in relationship with the church. Kathy answers all the questions, but Lewis is not satisfied.
I've been watching you.
He tells her he's been tracking her for months. He knows all the lies she just told him, so he keeps pressuring her, demanding the correct information. Kathy finally changes her story as he fires a shot at the wall. Her real name is Natalie Ann Stevens. She grew up with her twin sister, Kathy, who committed suicide when their father, a football team doctor, left their mother for a cheerleader. Natalie didn't give up. She continued to study nursing like her mom. Now, she has admitted what he wants. Lewis tells her she must want to know why he kidnapped her. But he only says that she might already know, and leaves the room again, taking the chair with him. Once the door closes, both Kathy and Lewis break down emotionally. When Lewis returns to the living room to watch old videos of him and his family, Natalie starts working on the broken tiles again. She makes no progress there, so she places her cell phone on the air vent. Finally, she managed to get some signal, dialed 911, and tried to seek help, which proved difficult with the weak reception. Meanwhile, Lewis spots a cell phone in the video and realizes she brought her phone to the basement. He rushes in just after she hides it.
Where is it?
But he finds it in her pants, takes it out, and destroys it, leaving the broken parts on the floor. Another interrogation begins. Natalie admits she used to work at Angel Hospital. Lewis asks her about the patients who mysteriously died under her care, including his wife, Alana.
3 people die unaccountably. People were curious.
Natalie reminds him there was a trial. All the nurses were acquitted. She says she left town because she needed a new start. Lewis doesn't believe her. He lays out the clues. A man named John Lanty died of organ failure a month before he was supposed to get health insurance. Alana lost her never-taken-off wedding ring. She was found drunk, strange because she rarely drank, and her body was filled with GHB, a drug commonly used to incapacitate abuse victims. Lewis doesn't just suspect Natalie, he knows. He tells her if she doesn't confess, she will die. After checking his computer, Lewis goes back to watch old family videos. His computer still records every sound from the basement. Seeing his deceased wife on the screen upsets him. So he rushes back to the cellar and puts the gun to Natalie's head.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you everything.
Natalie finally confesses. She and her sister grew up in a religious environment that adhered to the teachings of the Bible. When Kathy discovered that their father was sleeping with her best friend, she confronted him. He abandoned them, and the family became outcasts. They were being punished for the sins of their father, something that drove Kathy to suicide. Natalie found her in the barn, hanging from the rafters. This is why Natalie dedicated her life to serving people. Patients believed she would carry their secrets, even the darkest ones. Her 3 victims all did something wrong. John Lanty had 2 wives. Jane Spencer falsely accused her husband of abuse for divorce money. Alana cheated repeatedly on her husband. Lewis doesn't believe it at first, but Natalie explains all the clues. That's why Alana was found drunk, dressed up, without her wedding ring, at a hotel bar. Her lover had even visited her in the hospital. Natalie admits she killed the Charleston 3 because they were sinners.
She was a sinner. I killed her.
Lewis, after learning of his wife's secrets, leaves the basement, unsettled. When he returns to the living room to watch another video, he starts to believe Natalie. He sees Alana acting awkwardly and ignoring phone calls. This confirmation causes Lewis to break down. He starts throwing things around the house, shouting in anger. Then he gets in the car and leaves the house. Natalie finds her phone in pieces and realizes she can use it as a tool, eventually releasing the tile fragments from the floor. Lewis arrives at the lake he and his wife often went to. 2 policemen approached him, asking about his wounds and address because they were investigating a call that described a car like this. After checking the license in the trunk of his car, they let him go, and Lewis decides to go home. He walks into the basement, squats in front of Natalie, and tells her that she had no right to kill his wife before he had a chance to talk to her. He also demands that Natalie turn herself in. Natalie stabs his shoulder with a 4 shard. Then she starts kicking him as she tells him she's Kathy now and won't let him ruin her new, happy life. Lewis manages to remove the shard from his shoulder, but Natalie lands a punch before running out of the room. She looks for a gun in the kitchen but doesn't find one, so she grabs a knife and goes back to the basement. Lewis waits for her and tries to lock her in the house again. Natalie puts her hand at the doorway to stop it. They struggle for a bit, and then Lewis flees to the kitchen, where he finds his gun on the floor. Natalie arrives as he picks it up, knocks it out of his hand, and starts fighting him. Eventually, she successfully subdues him, steals the gun, and points it at him. Just then, they are interrupted by Alondra, who is entering the house with Lewis's daughter, Summer. Natalie shoots Alondra and then catches Summer trying to find her father. She points the gun at her head, telling him that she is not his child. But this doesn't matter to Lewis. He tells her she doesn't need to turn herself in, and he won't tell anyone anything if she doesn't hurt his daughter. Natalie does not accept this because the police will trace her phone anyway. So Lewis tells her he has recorded everything she has said. This distracts Natalie, and Summer seizes the opportunity to bite her arm and escape. Lewis pounces on Natalie, throwing her to the floor and strangling her until he knocks her out. Just a few steps away from her, Natalie stands up again. So Lewis shoots her before leaving to find his daughter. He finds Summer hiding in the basement and takes her away. They stop in the office to pick up the USB stick with the recording, and Summer notices that Natalie is gone. So Lewis rushes her into the garage. He is getting Summer into the car when Natalie finds him and tries to shoot him. But the gun is out of ammo, so they start fighting again as Summer leaves the car. Natalie uses various gardening tools to beat Lewis until she subdues him and places a pitchfork at his chest, intending to kill him. Lewis grabs the pitchfork to prevent it from stabbing him, pushing until he hits Natalie with it, causing her to fall backward onto the broom he used earlier to open the garage door. Without the broom's support, the door falls on her, trapping her body as she loses consciousness. The movie ends with Lewis embracing Summer, apologizing to her, and calling her his child as the police arrive.